This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Yeah, we're ready to go for the Sunday edition. Busy couple of hours ahead because there's lots going on in the National Hockey League. These are exciting times in the NHL. Sure, there's only 4 teams remaining, 2 series going on, one in the East, one in the West, but you know, there's a lot of good storylines that we want to explore in both of them, plus throughout the rest of the league as well. Coming up on today's program, Stephen Whyno, who covers the National Hockey League for the Associated Press, will join us. A couple of really good pieces by Stephen lately about some new coaches coming into the National Hockey League and about the 4 teams that are in the East and Western finals as well, and why this is a good thing for the NHL. Tracey Myers from NHL.com also with us, a good piece focusing on defenseman Michael Kempny of the Washington Capitals. Of course, he came from the Chicago Blackhawks. Tracey covers a lot of the Chicago Blackhawks, so some good insight there. Our friend from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk, Sean Leahy, to cover all things in the National Hockey League, good, bad, and a little in between. And Jesse Granger from the Las Vegas Sun with the latest on the Vegas Golden Knights, the phenomenon that is the Vegas Golden Knights, playing for the Western Conference title and the right to go to the Stanley Cup final. Drop game number 1, though, against the Winnipeg Jets. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. We are live every Saturday and Sunday beginning at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. Streaming live as well on the Hockey Unfiltered app. And we'll tell you, we'll make a special note that we have a special pre-game edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis on the Tampa Bay Lightning Network as well, coming up at 3:30 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. So we've got you covered all day on all the hockey talk. And first of all, of course, we must say happy Mother's Day. Moms are the best, aren't they? I know they get on your case sometimes. They ride you about stuff and they point out things, but they do it because they love you. So today of all days, say something nice to your mom, call your mom. So it's like a giant, huge phone minutes day today because everybody calls their mom at whatever time. You know, do something nice, send her flowers, tell her you love her, just recognize and acknowledge what great moms have done for us. I hope you're enjoying the weekend so far. The 3rd round of the Stanley Cup playoffs has been really interesting. We're underway in both the East and in the West now with 1 game completed, and they're pretty captivating, both series already. I know we've only played 1 game, but I've really been sucked deep into both because I think there's a lot of good stories that are worth pursuing in the East and in the West. And it's great if you're just a hockey fan, even if you're not a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Winnipeg Jets, the Tampa Bay Lightning, or the Washington Capitals. There's been some good hockey. There's been some good hockey stories. And even if you are a fan of one of those teams and your team doesn't come out on top in a game or in a given series, then, you know, we've seen some good hockey, and it's tough to really ask for much more than that during the playoffs. It's been exciting. It's been captivating with these 4 teams in particular. I'm kind of liking this lineup of the 4 teams that we've been whittled down to through 2 rounds of the playoffs. I talked a little bit about it yesterday, and it's still interesting and relevant that a year ago, 2 teams that are in the conference final matchups were not in the playoffs. That's Tampa, that's Winnipeg. The Caps were out in round number 2. Vegas didn't even exist. They existed as a franchise. They just didn't have any players yet. I am enjoying this infusion of new blood and the possibility of a first-time Cup champion. And Tampa's only won once before. So I like this. I think it's good for the game as a whole. I think it helps to draw in new hockey fans. I think it gives us some fresh stories to look at, some fresh players to highlight and focus on, because there's a lot of talented ones in the NHL. I'm not sure in the East or in the West after game number 1 if there is a bigger surprise of the Caps winning on the road in Tampa Bay, minus their number 1 center, or if the Jets blasting the Golden Knights in the first period and winding up with a 4-2 victory over Las Vegas on home ice in that sea of white was I guess that wasn't really a surprise. I guess neither are overly surprising at this time of year, but and especially since what we've seen so far in the playoffs, the team that has the quick turnaround. Oh, it's only been 2 days since their last game. They're coming off a long series. It shouldn't be a surprise that we saw the Winnipeg Jets score a victory over the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday. Unlike Game 6 when they hosted the Predators, I think Winnipeg was different going into this game. This wasn't an elimination game, and they were absolutely feeling the heat, the pressure of the crowd that was absolutely on the edge of their seat, anticipating a series victory in game number 6 against Nashville. It didn't happen, but in this game, Winnipeg Jets embraced their crowd. They embraced the emotion. They embraced the moment and rode that to a victory in game number 1 over the Vegas Golden Knights. They came out, they were ready, they felt the enthusiasm, didn't feel it as pressure, and they felt it as love and support, and that's exactly what it was. It was the same in game 6. It was just received differently. The method how this victory occurred for the Winnipeg Jets was a bit of a surprise to me. It was a bit of an eye-opener. It was a little like 2 games in 1 between Vegas and Winnipeg, because the momentum shifted in the game from Winnipeg, because it was all Winnipeg in the early going, starting a minute and a half in when Dustin Byfuglien ripped the slapper, the full clapper, if you will, past Marc-Andre Fleury. They pumped in a couple of quick ones. The Jets scored a third, and then the video review, I think, took about an hour and a half or so to decide whether it was actually a goal or if it was not going to be a goal. It was overruled on the ice by Kelly Sutherland, who was waving his arms and said, no goal, no goal. It was goaltender interference. Now, well, we can talk a little bit about this. It was a bit of a multi-layer review process, which is why it took so long. They got it right, as far as I'm concerned. If you disagree, feel free to weigh in at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. But I think they got it right. I looked at it a bunch of times. All the different angles that I was able to see. It's, you know what? You got to let the players play a little bit too. I didn't think there was any significant contact until the puck was already on its way into the net. It may not have crossed the goal line yet, but there was already on the way. The outcome was inevitable before the contact took place, is maybe the best way to express it. Goalies, of course, on social media and otherwise that I've heard from disagree because, well, goalies are different. I'm not surprised at all that. If you go into their area or their vicinity, any sort of inhibiting of their progress, regardless of whether it would have stopped the puck in this case, they get upset about it. This call is always going to be an interpretation. Is this the most controversial, if you will, goaltender interference ruling and overturning since the start of the postseason? Perhaps. Everybody's got a different opinion on what constitutes goaltender interference. I think we have to come to some sort of resolution about whether goaltender interference is always going to be a penalty or not, because I find it difficult to accept that, well, there can be goaltender interference, but it's not a penalty. The phrase incidental contact is used. And it's not incidental. It's part of the play, and it's either interference or it's not. Regardless, I don't think it was a bad call. Put the Jets up 3-0, and they were cruising from that point. But what we might be seeing with this Winnipeg Jets Vegas Golden Knights matchup is the series that we all hoped for when Nashville was playing the Winnipeg Jets. I was hoping, along with millions of others, that it was going to be high-flying, it was going to be great offense, it was going to be great talent, it was going to be great skill, and it was going to be exciting from the drop of the puck until the final buzzer. We didn't have that in the Nashville-Winnipeg series. 2 teams, really good lineups, putting on a great show for a long series. We didn't have that. Preds and Jets were the 2 top teams in the league. Everybody thought that this was going to be fantastic and it was going to be a wonderful series. It was at times, but at other times it wasn't. People complained about the playoff format and all the rest of it. But watching the first game between Vegas and Winnipeg, it looks quite possible that this might be the series that we had all hoped for. Because it's Curry in the 3rd round, I think is part of it. It's the conference final. The stakes are higher. win this series, get to go and play for the Stanley Cup. But I think the teams are better suited to playing that type of series. There were some real heart-stopping moments in the early going of this one. It kind of all settled down a bit when the Jets were up 3. And as I said, Vegas got their legs under them once that enormously long video review was completed and went against them. I think that really helped Vegas. I think that really helped them just kind of catch their breath. It slowed down the Winnipeg Jets. This is why coaches sometimes after a couple of quick goals or if they're down early, will call a timeout early on in a game. You got to burn it because you're trying to slow the game down. And I think that's what happened, and that helped Vegas in the early going. I think it also had an effect on Connor Hellebuyck. As well as Hellebuyck has played for Winnipeg, Marc-Andre Fleury's been even better for the Golden Knights, 4 shutouts, even with a 4-2 loss in this game on Saturday night against Winnipeg. His goals against average is 1.73. His save percentage is still an almost unthinkable 943. You know the Knights have got offense. Bill Karlsson scored a power play goal. The defense, I think, is going to be where Winnipeg has the advantage. You can roll over Byfuglien and Trouba and Enstrom and Myers, and it's Nate Schmidt, Shea Theodore, Braden McNabb, and others that are on the opposite end. I think that's probably where the advantage is going to be for Winnipeg, but I'm excited about the series. I'm excited about the series and what we've seen, and for those that haven't seen a lot of the Winnipeg Jets so far, I have mentioned a number of times through the season, especially down the stretch and in the first couple of rounds of the playoffs, this is a pretty good team, and I hope you're enjoying them right now because they're the focus every other night of the Western Conference Final. You're going to get to see this team. The enthusiasm in the building and for the last few weeks in the city of Winnipeg has been unbelievable. The city is absolutely consumed with all things Winnipeg Jets. TV ratings are absolutely unbelievable in Winnipeg. It's like 80 or 90% of televisions tuned during the game are tuned to the game. Like the rest of the city basically shuts down during this time. Fans can't get enough. They are all in on this. They are completely absorbed by the Winnipeg Jets, and it's fantastic. 27,000 people outside the building yesterday, and they know that because they had to allot them tickets. They are crammed into the streets, and that's all they can handle right now. That's all they can set up for. That's all they can accommodate for, and that's why they have to hand out tickets to people. And apparently, there's some stories of people who have been getting in line and grabbing these free access passes and then scalping them. Shame on you. And I hope you get caught, and I hope you get fined, and I hope you lose all the money you make. I think that's terrible. I think it's awful. The whiteout tradition that began with the first incarnation of the Winnipeg Jets, it's continued and been brought back. I think it's just fantastic. It's wonderful. There will be another giant crowd of 27,000 plus for game number 2 of the series, and there will be a full house inside. They did manage to find two fans wearing Vegas Golden Knights apparel inside the building. Last night in the TV coverage that I was watching, I saw 2. I didn't see any others, and it's a spectacle that's pretty special. We got lots more on game number 1 between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. Jets smoke them early, hold on, get a 4-2 victory. I'm really anxious and excited for game number 2 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals to see what happens there, plus other stories that we'll got you covered for in the National Hockey League as well. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press is coming right up. He will join us. Tracey Myers from NHL.com also coming up later in the program. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk and Jesse Granger covering the Golden Knights for the Las Vegas Sun, all coming up. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Happy Mother's Day, and hope you're having a good one. Hope you recognize all the great moms that have traveled in through your life and all they have done to support you. More Hockey Talk with Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
It's the Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, here Saturdays and Sundays live at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Busy couple of hours today. Jesse Granger will join us from the Las Vegas Sun. We'll talk about the game on Saturday night between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. 4-2 Winnipeg the win. They lead that series 1-0. Also much more on the Washington-Tampa series. Caps are up 1-0. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk will join us later. So will Tracey Myers from NHL.com. Pleased to welcome back from the Associated Press. He covers the National Hockey League, all things NHL. If you follow him on Twitter, you should. You'll find all kinds of interesting stuff at Whyno. Stephen Whyno is our guest. Stephen, welcome back. Happy Mother's Day. It's a nice Sunday, and it's a good time for the NHL. I know you've written about this recently, that there's some nice new infusions of teams that haven't been to this part of the playoffs before or in a long time, and I think it's good for the league too.
Yeah, it is. It's refreshing to see a new set of teams, and the NHL likes to pump up this idea of what Gary Bettman calls competitive balance or parity or whatever, that kind of any team has a chance to win, and nobody gives a better boost to that than Vegas, a team in its expansion season, to get to this point. And obviously there's a certain appreciation that people lose maybe for dominance and how good a team can be, a dynasty, like we saw with the Islanders, we saw with Canadians and the Oilers, the Penguins winning back-to-back. Not quite a dynasty, but the same team getting back there. It does get old after a while. And to have four teams there who haven't won in the salary cap era, it's a fun spring to see new stories and new players this time of year.
And maybe the Penguins dynasty of back-to-back Stanley Cups and making it through to the second round of the playoffs in the third year, even the way the Hawks and the Kings have done it, winning a couple of cups in a short series of times, maybe that is simply the type of dynasty that is realistic in our expectation now. The Islander teams, the Oiler teams, even if you want to go back further to the Canadiens teams in the 70s, that's just not realistic to expect teams to be able to do that at this point in our lives.
Right, and that really is the mini dynasties now is teams being at the top of their game, and the Penguins still at the top of their game, still second in the division, lose in a very tight series against the Capitals. It's not like they're going away. And you saw the Blackhawks have a long run from making the playoffs in '09, missing it down, but that's an extremely long run of being competitive, being at the top of the league, and winning a bunch of divisions, going to the Stanley Cup final and winning it 3 times. The Kings maybe petered out a little bit earlier than that. That was maybe a higher peak. But we're starting to see the ability for teams to keep players on long-term deals, but the salary cap keeps teams from being able to stay that on top of the game. There's too many good teams. There's too much talent. It's spread around. Now you got 30, 31, and soon to have 32 teams. That you're not going to be able to play dominant and keep dominant teams together for that long.
And I guess isn't it better for the overall league health to have it that way? Isn't it good to have really good players in all 31 markets of the National Hockey League? That means that yes, whichever team comes into your building, you're going to see their good players as well. You're not going to have any real difficult sells in terms of tickets and promoting. Well, here's another bad team, even though the records are going to be a bit skewed. You're going to have good talent coming into your building as a visitor every night.
Yeah, and this is where the NHL might want to start marketing those kind of players more than they kind of market teams right now. And it's a very team-oriented, the logo on the front matters more than the name on the back kind of sport. But when you have potentially a Rasmus Dahlin in Buffalo, you have a Connor McDavid in Edmonton, it's not necessarily about going to see the Sabres or going to see the Oilers or going to see the Blue Jackets. It's about seeing Sergei Bobrovsky and Connor McDavid and Dahlin and these kind of players that there is enough talent spread around the league. Vegas is one of the anomalies in that there aren't any huge franchise stars, but the team is so good and such a good story that they've become a must-see entertainment. But there is enough talent and superstar talent around the league that you do on any given night, on a Tuesday in Raleigh, might have a great game between Carolina and Florida because of a guy like Alexander Barkov, because of Elias Lindholm, because of players like that. That's what the league, kind of what the NBA has done, is maybe start marketing towards some of those star players rather than just, hey, let's go see the Columbus Blue Jackets on a Thursday night in November.
Stephen Whyno is our guest, covers the National Hockey League for the Associated Press, at @Whyno to follow him on Twitter. It's good, I agree, to have an infusion of new blood in the league and new teams pushing late into the Stanley Cup Finals and toward the Stanley Cup Finals and in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're also seeing some new blood in terms of coaching coming into the NHL. The Dallas Stars, the most recent example of that, hiring a coach out of college to come and take over their team.
Yeah, Jim Montgomery, a guy out of the University of Denver, the second college coach in the last 4 years to go right to the NHL after Philadelphia Hufstone. And it's interesting that teams are starting to look at college more for coaches and not just for players. I think the player transition happened maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We started looking at a lot more college players high in the draft over just major junior job. And now you're seeing there's a level of coaching there that goes from the NCAA to the NHL. And a lot of guys in the past have had to make a medium step in there, either to being an assistant somewhere or to being in the AHL. And now, rather than just looking at assistants in the NHL, who's kind of hot names in the AHL, it's like the NCAA and potentially even Europe soon are becoming a feeder system for coaches to the NHL as teams try to find what the next step is in coaching and in ideas as the league's getting faster and younger and more skilled.
And it makes sense, especially for some teams, maybe not so much the Dallas Stars, but the Rangers are being reported to have discussed or looking at potentially a college coach to take over their team, because it's about developing players and developing your talent. And probably, again, it goes back to the salary cap and the way teams have to be structured now. You have to draft, you have to develop, and have your own very busy pipeline of players coming through. And that's what college coaches have been entrusted to do.
Right, and the Rangers were very interested in David Quinn at Boston University. He's got the World Junior team, which is something so Housley did. He went to be an assistant in Nashville and now a head coach in Buffalo. But that's the kind of coach teams are looking for. Someone like Dave Haxtell, who developed the likes of TJ Oshie in Dakota, to get a guy like Jim Montgomery, who developed Troy Terry out of Denver. has coached at Boston University and guys like Jordan Greenway. And that's what, you're right, you want a developmental coach. And it's what the Flyers thought they were getting in Dave Hextall, someone to coach a lot of their young defensemen, a lot of their young talent. He's taken a different approach in scratching a lot of those guys. But the idea is you want a coach who develops players into kind of long-term NHL prospects the way you see in the NCAA.
Is this something that we may also start to see in other areas of the NHL? And I guess I'm leaning specifically towards the general manager role. Maybe they start coming from other sources as well. Maybe Europe, perhaps, as you mentioned, as a possibility at one point for coaches in the NHL. And the reason I'm asking is because of Kyle Dubas and all the nonsense that I've read and heard over the last couple of days is absolutely hilarious about the new choice of general manager for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is there going to be an infusion of younger talent from not necessarily the traditional sources eventually for general managers and executive positions?
It certainly depends on where these decisions are coming from. If it's an owner like Tom Dundon, kind of a new school guy who you wound up going with Don Waddell because he's been in the organization. He brought in, had Mark Hunter and Kyle Dubas there before Lou Lamoriello already was taking over as GM. And it'd be interesting to see if more to start looking at not quite a general manager by committee approach, but a lot of these front offices where there are several voices and not just one person in charge of everything. You've already seen a little bit of the European influence with Jarmo Kekalainen in Columbus. Ricard Green is a coach from Sweden who's going to get a look at teams at some point too. I also wonder if guys like Peter Bondra in Slovakia is with the Capitals will get a look as an executive, as a GM at some point too. Every team is looking for the next new idea, and as good as these European nations are at growing players now, they're growing kind of executives and coaches too.
Yeah, and well, even the National Hockey League has started to look outside for officials to find them from Europe, to find them from Russia, to bring them in. And why wouldn't you expand your search as far as you could? But I guess there's a hesitancy until someone does it successfully. You don't want to be the first one to try it.
Right, and it's always going to be a risk. And Gromberg as a coach has told Chris Johnson, our colleague from Sportsnet, that someone's going to have to take a chance on someone like him. The NHL is having to take a chance on bringing in European officials, bringing in officials from different areas of hockey, not just in the American. Yeah, but yeah, you're going to have to take that risk, and Columbus did it with Jarmo Kekalainen because of a significant amount of success. But Albo Salonen and Ivan Holenka, the only European coaches right now, didn't have a whole lot of success. I think that maybe kept teams wanting to go that route so far. But the NHL hasn't gotten as far as the NBA, where someone like Becky Hammon, a female coach, is getting looks as a head coach. I think we're decades away from the NHL being that progressive. But to see some more ideas like college coaching, how to even come up with high school into coaching, it's cool to see the NHL kind of coming into the 21st century, not just recycling coaches over, but some new names, some new faces around here.
Yeah, it is. It's not, and again, it's just if you want to be innovative, you want to try something new, you're going to have to take a bit of a risk. Just before I let you go, Stephen, a quick thought on the Washington and Tampa series. I guess we shouldn't be completely surprised that the Caps jump out to a 1-0 lead in that series. Washington's had a tremendous road record through the first couple of rounds of the playoffs. They played another great game in game number 1 against Tampa, and they were the better team and deserved the victory.
Yeah, they were the better team, and I don't know if the Lightning kind of overestimated the Capitals, but I think a lot of people around hockey probably did. And that Tampa was so dominant in beating Boston that there might be an advantage to the Capitals, and that they had to fight a tough 6-game series against Pittsburgh, had to have a tough 6-game series to get to this point. And this is a Capitals team that you don't want to put them on the power play. I mean, they scored in almost every game at least one power play goal, which certainly when you have a guy like Braden Holtby playing as well as he is right now, and you can get offensive 5-on-5 in the power play. And Braden Holtby doesn't need more than 2 or 3 goals on most nights to be able to win a game. And the Capitals scoring as quickly as they did the other night. The Lightning have to score in some way, and jumping the Capitals early, or this could be a quick series.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press, covering all things NHL, at @SWhyno to follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Stephen. I appreciate it. Have a great Sunday, and we'll talk again soon.
Same to you. Thanks, Todd. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press. I think it's going to be a really interesting game number 2 between Tampa Bay Lightning, the Washington Capitals, and I love that there's new things happening in the NHL, and we have new teams that have reached the conference finals, potential first-time winners for the Stanley Cup, new coaches coming in, new ways, new methods of doing things. It's an interesting one with Tom Dundon, who purported to have new methods, new ideas coming in, but then chose Don Waddell to be the general manager and Rod Brindamore to be the head coach. I'm a bit curious about that, and I do want to get into more about the selection of Kyle Dubas as the new general manager for the Maple Leafs and the manufactured hysteria that is going on over such a selection, completely missing the point, most of it, which is, I guess, not surprising. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Lots more to get to on the Sunday edition. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk will join us. Jesse Granger with more on the Vegas Golden Knights, and Tracey Myers from NHL.com coming up in our next segment. We'll talk about the Caps and the Lightning and everything else around the National Hockey League. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. A busy program. Get you set for game number 2 between the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lots to get into from Saturday's contest as well. The Vegas Golden Knights fall to the Winnipeg Jets. 4-2 the final. Winnipeg Jets take a 1-0 series lead in the Western Conference Final. The Caps out for their morning skate, and apparently Nick Backstrom is on the ice. He'll still be listed officially as a game-time decision, it looks like, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he gets back into the lineup. Caps victorious in game number 1 of their contest against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a 1-0 series lead. Tracey Myers covers the NHL for NHL.com. You can follow her on Twitter at @Myers_NHL, and she joins us now. Tracey did a really interesting piece on Michael Kempny, who is a member of the Caps. And Tracey, I think he's been one of the reasons why the Caps have been successful thus far in the season. And you know him well from his days in Chicago.
Yeah, first of all, I'll apologize for any background noise. I'm outside here in Chicago, but you know what? First of all, good for him. It didn't work here in Chicago for what reason? I personally just wonder if it was, maybe a chemistry thing, maybe it was a system thing. When he did get a chance here, he'd have a great couple of games, and then he'd kind of taper off, have a couple of mistakes, be out of the lineup. But for Washington, he fit a need. He fit a need on that left side. They had tried a couple guys. It just wasn't working. So he came in, and I think even to some watching in Washington all the time, they were a bit surprised at how well and how quickly he fit into the system. And he's given the Capitals what they need. And as Barry Trotz said the other day, he's not there for offense, but when you lead off game one against Tampa Bay with a goal, that doesn't hurt.
You're not going to decline the goal, I'm pretty sure, if you get one like that. But it is interesting, and maybe this is just one of the great examples of a player who changes cities, and for whatever reason, it's a little bit different system. The comfort level is there a little bit more when you arrive in the new place, and it just works for you. And maybe the pressures were different in Chicago than they were in Washington.
Well, I wonder if it's that. Maybe it was just a thing that, when you're in and out of the lineup like he was, maybe that's part of it too. And part of it was for the Blackhawks, and they did this again this year. I don't understand why, because they've proven that it doesn't work. They started the season off with 8 defensemen. This doesn't work. It never works. And yet they tried to do this revolving door of trying to get guys in. You never get him enough reps. And he kind of fell victim to that too. Maybe it does work out a little better if he has more of an opportunity here. I don't know. But actually, as far as the pressure, I almost wonder if it was a little bit more in Washington because, they were looking for somebody to play with John Carlson. They're a team that's still trying to get over the hump in the playoffs, slew the dragon known as the Pittsburgh Penguins. But this is a team that's looking for that cup, that's been looking for that cup for a long time. So the pressure might have been greater, but maybe it's just at the time that he went in, I think it was back in February, it was all right. It's a new chance and it's something different, and just kind of roll the dice and see what happens. But regardless of whether he felt pressure or not, he's handled everything beautifully there.
Yeah, and perhaps you're right too, and maybe more of a combination of things, as you said, a consistent role. He's going to get in the lineup every night. There's a little more in terms of pressure, that the stakes are a little bit higher because he's not he's young for the NHL in the sense that this is only year number 2, but he's a mature player. He's not coming in as a 19 or 20-year-old and having to figure it all out, and it's brand new. He's used to playing in significant minutes and in better situations.
Yeah, he's 27 years old. As Trotz said, he's more of a pro, and maybe that made him falling into the system a little bit easier too. Is that this wasn't a guy, and Coach Joe Quenneville says it all the time, as far as defensemen, that they take more time to develop. So now you've got a guy who's 26, 27 years old when he comes over here, and yeah, he had the experience over in the Czech Republic, in Russia. There's some differences that he had to adjust to over here, but he might be reaching that sweet spot of development, not just from pro hockey altogether, but also from the North American games and the different ice surface and all of that. So, maybe it's just a perfect storm for him. But, the Capitals got the right guy at the right time, and it's just another one of those deals where it wasn't anything flashy or splashy, but it worked. And, as Trotz said, they got, I'm blanking on names already, but they got Shattenkirk last year, and it didn't work. That was a big shebang of a deal, and you thought, okay, this is going to put them over the top. And then you do something settled this year, and it works. So, it's not always the splash factor, it's the fit factor, and this one is fit.
Tracey Myers is with us, covers the National Hockey League for NHL.com, at Trey Myers _NHL to follow her on Twitter. You covered a bunch of the Washington and Pittsburgh series, so you saw the Capitals come up with a victory. And what have you noticed, if something is different about this team this year that allowed them to get past the Pittsburgh Penguins, that might also allow them to move beyond the Tampa Bay Lightning and get into the Stanley Cup final for the first time in a couple of decades?
Well, this was my first year covering that series up close. I've seen it from afar, like a lot of other people. And this year, a lot of them have been talking about a different attitude, about having more confidence and not that apprehension, I guess, maybe when it comes to the Penguins. A couple different factors here. Full marks to the Penguins, but they looked tired. I'm sure there were some injuries there, even ones that they didn't talk about when they closed things out. They played a lot of hockey. That's part of it. You had the Penguins' top line doing everything and didn't get a whole lot else whole lot out of everyone else. That hurt them. But as far as the Capitals are concerned, you look at what Alex Ovechkin has done, constantly getting this, this thing about, he's great during the regular season, but what can he do in the playoffs? He's been outstanding. His nets up with the big goals. Brayton Holtby has been outstanding. So it's been a couple of things, on ice play certainly, I think it's been ramped up. The fact that they've been able to find ways to play without Tom Wilson and Nicholas Backstrom, it's pretty impressive. But it's also, I think, the attitude. There's an attitude and there's a confidence there that, from what others have told me, might not have been there in the past and is ratcheted up that much more now that they beat Pittsburgh. And, they go in the other night. They look fantastic against Tampa Bay. And I picked against them. I'm sorry. I thought Tampa Bay, and I still think Tampa Bay. But yeah, very impressive how they talk about having a different attitude, about having a different approach, and showing.
There's nothing wrong with making a choice. You've made your best guess. It's their predictions are like bums. Everybody's got one. It's not a big deal. It's not. It's really some. You're going to get right, some right. You're going to get some wrong. Tracey Myers is with us from NHL.com, talking Caps, talking Tampa Bay Lightning, and I also want to go back because I know you were also following the Colorado series earlier with Nash, and I. Just because they were such a good story earlier on to make it into the playoffs, and I think there's a lot of reason for real excitement about the future of the Colorado Avalanche with so many talented young players. They could be doing next year what we've seen teams do this year, whether it's the Winnipeg Jets, who have had such a good season, had such a good run with young talent. That's a realistic expectation for Colorado to follow and move along in a similar sort of path.
Oh, absolutely. I was really impressed with Colorado, and I guess looking back, maybe you kind of saw the seeds of what was happening and some of what was going wrong for Nashville, which continued into the second round. They just never found that consistent game. But full marks to the Avalanche. They enter this series without Erik Johnson, without Semyon Varlamov. They lose Sam Girard for, I think, 2 games. Then they lose, their backup goalie. Then they are going to Andrew Hammond. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong for this team. And yeah, they're still very young. It was very much a one-line team, but that was a pretty damn impressive one line. But no, if I'm Colorado, between what they've got on the ice, between these young guys getting some very valuable experiences postseason, with Jared Bednar, who I love his style. I think he's a great up-and-coming coach here, and rightfully so with a finalist with Jack Adams. He totally deserves it. There's a lot going right in Colorado, and it's like you said, it's kind of the pattern of all these teams, like what Winnipeg could be, what the Chicago Blackhawks were a couple of years ago. A lot of it is still drafting and developing, and giving these guys some time to develop, and giving these guys the opportunities, letting them fall on their face every now and then, knowing they have to pick themselves back up, and all of it is valuable experience. So, no, if I'm Colorado, I am very excited about the future because they were very impressive, all things considered, in that first series against Nashville.
Yeah, I think they were outstanding in the postseason, and even they're charged through the back half of the regular season as well. And I wanted to ask you about the Chicago Blackhawks too, because there's a roster that's also undergone a pretty significant transformation over the last year or so. They've injected a lot of younger players into their lineup as well. There's still some questions about what's going to happen with the veterans now, I guess, moving forward to we get to training camp next season.
Well, among the forwards, they should be very, very excited. You see what Alex DeBrincat did this year. You see the steps that Nick Schmaltz took this year. I don't, John Hayden's getting some great experience now with the Rockford IceHogs on their playoff run. Vinny Hinostroza did some very good things this year. I don't know if Duclair is in the picture. We will find out. On forward, I think they're in great shape. On defense is where the concerns are because you've got guys who are getting old, who have a lot of miles on them. And again, goes back to what Quenneville said. It takes time to develop defensemen. Connor Murphy, was hit and miss this year. Give him some time, see what he does. My fear is that Yoki Haru comes in this year and is rushed along a little bit. And I don't want to see that happen because it kind of reminds me of what happened with Nick Leddy a couple years ago. They got rid of Brian Campbell and that big contract he had at the time, and then he put way too much on Leddy to make this huge leap. So I want them to be patient here, even if it costs them another so-so season, even if it means that this defense isn't what they want it to be immediately. You're going to have to give the guys on defense time. And back to veterans, you have got to hope and pray that Corey Crawford is good to go this year, because we all saw what happened when he gets hurt. He was the backbone of this team. He was the reason why they were where they were in December. And if they're missing him again significantly this coming year, that's going to hurt him a lot.
That was my next question. Is I don't know what the latest is for Corey Crawford and his progress and if he's making, but is it are we hearing anything positive? Are we hearing anything?
I haven't heard anything since closeout day, and the word that the Blackhawks keep using is we're optimistic. Well, that's a lovely word. But with what this could be with him, it sounds like it's head related. You just don't know. Is it like a Sidney Crosby situation where he has a rough year or so and then he comes back and is back to form? Or is it a situation where he might not come back from this? This is the uncertainty of some of these things. So, you hope, the Blackhawks certainly hope that he's okay, but I think they've got to prepare. They've got to go out and look for a goaltender, not, no offense to the guys that they brought in, the Antoine Forsbergs and the Jeff Classes. It just didn't happen. But they're going to have to shore up that goaltending situation more than they've had to worry about in the last couple of years. In the past, it was a great chance to develop a backup guy because they'd get their starts here and there, but you only had to rely on them so much. Now they might be in a situation where they're going to have to. So they're going to have to give a lot more consideration to that position, because as much as they want to hope and be optimistic that Corey Crawford is going to be okay, right now you don't know, and haven't heard much since they closed everything out in April.
Yeah, that is going to be the big question for the Chicago Blackhawks going forward. And you know what? Scott Foster is not going to be available from the accounting firm on every night. So you got to have a plan for the Hawks, don't you? Tracey Myers from NHL. From NHL.com at Trey Myers _NHL. Thanks for this, Tracey. Really good stuff. And I don't blame you for being outside after the Chicago winter. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the background noise.
Not at all. Tracey Myers from NHL.com. That's the question about Chicago. I'm with Tracey. The forwards look good. You're going to have to do some work on defense. Keith and Seabrook have just logged so many minutes for so many years. They can't keep doing it. You've got to give them some help. And the goaltending question with Corey Crawford, if there were still some doubters as to what his contribution to the Hawks was, we saw it last year. When he's out of the lineup, it's a giant absence. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. New blood coming into the NHL is a good thing, whether it's coaches, whether it's general managers and taking on bigger roles like Kyle Dubas is going to do in Toronto. I want to get into that coming up after the break. We'll also talk more about the Tampa Bay Lightning and Washington Capitals, game number 2 of that series, and more on Vegas and the Winnipeg Jets as well. Sean Leahy will join us later on in the program, and Jesse Granger as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. It's a Happy Mother's Day edition. Hashtag Happy Mother's Day. Congratulations and Happy Mother's Day to all the moms that have passed through our lives and given us love and support. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Lots more to come on the Tampa Bay Lightning, Washington Capitals, game number 2 of that series coming up tonight. And don't forget, we'll have a special pregame edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis at 3:30 p.m. Eastern to talk specifically about that game and some other stories going on in the NHL as well. Nick Backstrom out on the ice for the morning skate. He's wearing a red jersey, it is being reported. He is not taking line rushes, however, so that it hasn't ruled him out officially yet, but he was listed as a game time decision, so we'll wait and see if anything comes of it. Also more to come on the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg taking a 1-0 series lead with a 4-2 victory. Jesse Granger from the Las Vegas Sun will join us. Also coming up later, Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk as well. Also want to get into, and this is sort of along the theme of what we were talking about with Stephen Whyno a little bit earlier, and some new blood coming into the league. Now, he's been a member of the organization for a while, but Kyle Dubas was officially named general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And of course, the interweb and people went hysterical about the whole thing. It's like, oh my gosh, how could this be the choice? And everything is going to be second guessed, as it always is with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if I just tell you that the candidate that was named general manager has been a successful general manager of a major junior hockey team. He has been a successful general manager of an American Hockey League team. Wouldn't you think that it would be a natural step forward that he would get a job as a general manager of a National Hockey League team? The big dump, or two of them actually, on Kyle Dubas is that he did things differently and he focused on statistics and analytics to help give him a new way of looking at things and generating more information when he was the GM of the Sioux Greyhounds in the Junior Hockey League, and he was dubbed as the analytics geek. He's also 32 years old, and I hope that's the last time I say that, because he's being slammed as a bad choice because of his age and because he tried to do something new and different to give his team a competitive advantage. Seems like pretty good choice to me. Lou Lamoriello went out as general manager, and then the wild speculation began. Is it going to be Dubas? Is it going to be Mark Hunter? Mark Hunter, of course. He's a much more experienced hockey person. He's been in junior for years, and he's moved on now to the National Hockey League. Brendan Shanahan knows what he's doing, and he is the smartest person in that organization, and those wondering and second-guessing haven't figured that out yet. This is the Shana plan, if you will, continuing. When he brought in Lou Lamoriello, the Maple Leafs were an absolute dumpster fire of steaming heap of a mess. And he needed to fix that first. And he knew Lou Lamoriello was the guy to do it. Structure, discipline, this is the way it's going to be. We're doing this the right way. We're doing this our way. If you're deviating, you're out. That's the type of approach that was needed. We hear so much about we have to change the culture. Well, Brendan Shanahan bringing in Lou Lamoriello and having him in charge did that. Brendan Shanahan also knew that Lou Lamoriello was not the man to lead the Maple Leafs where their ultimate destination is, which is to be a perennial Stanley Cup contender. He could fix the mess that the Leafs were 3 years ago when he showed up. He's not the man to lead them to the next phase of their development, and that's what's to come next. So you hire Kyle Dubas, who's had a successful tenure as a junior hockey coach. You let him apprentice for 3 years and learn under Lou Lamoriello, with Mike Babcock, and with Mark Hunter. And they all understand what the process is to move the team forward, draft, develop, bring in players. Mark Hunter was always the find the players guy. Babcock wants players. Dubas has now been involved with the Leafs and has a much more thorough knowledge of how the NHL works. He's run the draft before. He's been introduced and has a relationship with others in the league. Oh, my goodness. And after hearing him speak when he was introduced, I am even more convinced that this is the right choice. 3 years under Lou, it's the perfect time to allow him to move forward and take the next step up. There is a lot more work to be done. They're only a few years into this process. That's why Mike Babcock signed the 8-year deal. He knew how long this was going to take. It's starting to creep in that there's unrealistic expectation again. Whoa, we made the playoffs for 2 years. We should be winning the Stanley Cup now. That takes time. This is a process. It was a steaming dumpster fire when all these guys arrived. It takes time to put it out, clean it out, and plant something positive that's going to grow. The bar has been set much higher than it has been in decades for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this nonsense that, oh, how's he going to get along with Mike Babcock, who's stubborn and wants to have things his way. Is there a competitive person, a successful and competitive person that doesn't want to have things his own way? Is there a successful and competitive person that isn't smart enough to listen to other ideas and look for new, creative, and innovative ways to coach your team to be successful? Not that I'm aware of. If you're the my way or the highway kind of person, you only last so long. Kyle Dubas is a smart person. He knows what he's doing. Is he going to make mistakes? Absolutely. I mean, reading this nonsense about, and this clickbait over the last couple of days, well, whoa, how's he going to get along with Mike Babcock? He's going to steamroll him. There's no way he's going to be able to stand up to him. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's still a collective. And is Mark Hunter still going to be around? Why would Brendan Shanahan name Kyle Dubas as the general manager when it's not been decided what's going to happen with Mark Hunter? Still under contract, it's believed, for one more year. He named him general manager because he knew it's the right choice, and whatever happens with Mark Hunter, he knew this was the right decision to make. Same thing with Lou Lamoriello, and whether or not he hangs around as an advisor to the Maple Leafs or not, or moves on to do something else, he knew that this was the right choice. Brendan Shanahan is the smart one. Brendan Shanahan is the brains of the operation, and he's smart enough to stay out of the spotlight too. All the lemmings that follow around is like, oh, what's going to happen here? This is going to be a controversy. Let's manufacture something. I need a clickbait story to put up. It's nonsense. Go ahead and ask the questions, but ask the good questions. Ask the right questions and pay attention to the answers. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. A busy hour number one. Lots more to come in hour number two of the program coming up right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number one sailed by pretty quick. It's going to be a hectic hour number two as well. A lot of stories to get into, a lot to dive into from the Saturday night game, the opener, and the Western Conference Final between the Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll also look ahead to game number two of the Eastern Conference Final, Washington Capitals, Tampa Bay Lightning. Caps just wrapping up their pre-game skate. We'll have a little info on that and much more. Our friend Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk coming up this hour with all things NHL. We'll touch on the East, the West, and a few other stories as well. And Jesse Granger covers the Vegas Golden Knights for the Las Vegas Sun. He will join us this hour as well. We'll look back on the loss by the Vegas Golden Knights and also look ahead to what needs to happen and change in game number two of that series for Vegas to even it up. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. A busy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day. Hashtag Happy Mother's Day. Wonderful day wished and much love sent to all the great moms that are a part of our lives, and many of them hockey moms as well. And you know, they're excited about the playoffs. There's lots of moms that are hockey fans and excited about what's taken place and what's happened so far. It's been an interesting postseason. I mean, there's been some surprises in the East and the West. We've seen a lot of the road teams come up with victories. Washington wins on the road yet again. Their road record in the postseason is 6-1, 500 at home, but they're 6-1 on the road. This is a different kind of Caps team than we have seen in previous years of the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to see what happens in game number two. Latest on Nick Backstrom, he is on the ice, or did take part in the morning skate, wearing a red sweater, jersey if you prefer. Did not take line rushes, but did take some shots with the puck. So that's a positive sign for Nick Backstrom. Still no official word whether he's in or out, but if he's not taking line rushes, that's been the sign in the past. No. In fact, our friend Isabel Kershudian, who was just with us yesterday, said that Barry Trotz says he's a game-time decision, but yeah, that's the quote, no line rushes. I'd say he's not playing again tonight. And why would he? Caps got a road victory. Why would you put him in the lineup when you've essentially got a free one? You've gotten the split. That's the objective. When you're the road team, you want the split. The Caps got the split. So if you can manage to get a second one, well then look out. But that's you got the split. You've already earned the split. That's what you want. And I think it's going to be an interesting and a good contest in game number two. Certainly, I expect a better effort from the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I'm kind of curious to see what kind of game we get between these two. I think it could be pretty different than game number one. In fact, I sure hope it is, because Tampa was as dull and disinterested as you can be through the first couple of periods. 10 shots in the first two periods. That was not a good game. We did have quite an exciting and dramatic one on Saturday night between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. How about them Winnipeg Jets? 27,000 strong outside, another 15,000 inside. The sea of white. It was awesome. It was fantastic. It was something else to see. Big Buff winds up, full clapper, bang. It's in past Marc-Andre Fleury, a minute and a half into the game. Thought the place was going to explode. It was quite the sight outside as well. They were pretty revved up with that early goal as well. And what a great atmosphere. It's fantastic. Then the flyover again from the Canadian Air Force. I hope they keep doing that for all the home games. That's tremendous. They got a huge crowd outside. It's been wonderful. But Big Bufflin has been an absolute force in the postseason. He's got 5 goals. He's got 10 assists after last night. He is tied for second on the team in points. I mentioned this earlier in the postseason. He is playing the way he did when he was with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010 and they went on their Stanley Cup run. And that is what this Winnipeg Jets team is reminding me of. In fact, Scott Oake asked Dustin Byfuglien about that last night after the game. And Byfuglien, of course, just deflected and said, just trying to play my game. Go out there and contribute. We're still in game mode. Yeah, all kinds of insight there. But I think there are a lot of similarities between teams. Young players coming into the league, finding their own, little bit of veteran help. That's what the Chicago Blackhawks had in 2010. A couple of real superstars in the making. That's what the Jets have reminded me of. Chicago at the time, I thought, you know what, might need another year or two, but I can see this team taking real steps. Winnipeg last year didn't make the playoffs. They have burst through this season. Blake Wheeler is one of the reasons why. Boy, has he endured an awful lot on his way to this playoff run. Captain of the Jets, he was traded away from the Boston Bruins just before they went on to win the Cup in 2011. He survived the awful years in Atlanta. The change in direction that the Winnipeg Jets took a couple of years ago that was instrumental in their success so far and is just starting to put them in the laneway to even greater success. He has survived. He has turned into a very good leader. He has come a long way in his NHL career. The change in direction a couple of years ago, Kevin Cheveldayoff spoke of, that said, you know, we got to the playoffs. We were good, but I didn't think we could get any better, and we weren't going to be good enough to win a Stanley Cup. So he made the choice. He made the decision. They were going to get younger. They were going to get faster, and the coaches were going to play those players. And it's worked. And I think it's worked faster than anyone anticipated. Mark Scheifele was one of those players who's introducing himself to the rest of the hockey world now as one of the best centers in the National Hockey League. He has it all. He is one of those young players that benefited by being allowed to develop and mature and getting a lot of ice time and being put out on the ice in all kinds of situations. He's got skill. He's got speed. He plays in all situations out on the ice, whether it's power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5. He is one of the best centers in the NHL. Not on his team, not in the West, in the entire league. The rest of the offense is also coming from talented youngsters. Patrick Leahy, again, a lot of people are seeing the Winnipeg Jets a little more, or in some cases for the first time, because of the bigger stage that they're on now. Patrick Leahy has been popping those one-timers in for the last 2 years. Struggled a little bit in the early going of the playoffs. Seems as though it might be okay now. Kyle Connor, who scored more goals as a rookie than anyone else this season. Nikolai Ehlers hasn't scored a goal yet. He needs to take an extra step still, but it'll come. And just for good measure, to make sure that they were stoked and ready to go for the postseason, Kevin Cheveldayoff makes the deal for Paul Stastny. Just to play on their second line, to have a center who's smart, responsible, offensively talented, defensively responsible. He's playing on the second line between Ehlers and Leahy, two youngsters that could use a mature voice, that could use a little bit of help, and it's worked out beautifully. The Jets' top power play, it is lethal. Wheeler, Leahy, Scheifele, Stastny, and Dustin Byfuglien too. 2 of the 4 goals on Saturday night came on the power play, much like we talked about with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals. Don't get them time on the power play because they'll burn you. Scheifele and Wheeler each have 18 points to lead the team in the postseason. Wheeler's got 5 goals, 13 assists. Mark Scheifele has 12 goals in 2 rounds plus 1 game. 6 assists as well. The modern record for goals in the postseason is 15. In this century, the record for goals in the postseason is 15. The all-time NHL record is 19. If Winnipeg keeps winning, that record is within reach. That's the talent that is on this Winnipeg Jets lineup. They are good. Now, give them credit, burst through, having a great season, had an incredible first 10 minutes in period number 1 of the game number 1 on Saturday night, scored some goals, one of them a bit questionable, a bit controversial, the one that went to the lengthy video review, and Kelly Sutherland's call on the ice of no goal interference was overturned, and the goal allowed to stand, made it 3-0, and it was pretty much over at that point. Hey, I give Vegas full credit though. They turned the tide in their direction and played a much better game through the second period, and especially in the third period. They had some chances, but when you're down 3 and Winnipeg is feeling it, it's tough to come back. Gerard Gallant post-game was hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. First off, and he's the one who pointed this out, after at least a half a dozen questions, I suspect more, it was the any other questions, and it was like, no, thanks, coach. He stood up to leave and said, no one wants to ask me about the goal. No one wants to ask me about the interference call. Seriously? Do your job. How was that not the first question? It sounded like one reporter thought he was the coach of the Jets and not the Vegas Golden Knights. And when he was asked about Marc-Andre Fleury letting in 3 goals over the last few games, Gallant quipped, "Yeah, he's awful." Yeah, he's really awful. He's really awful with a record of 8-3, 943 save percentage, and a 1.74 goals against average, and that is after allowing 4 last night against the Winnipeg Jets. That's funny. That's funny. Winnipeg played better, jumped out to a 3-0 lead, held on, got the victory. Vegas got it moving in the right direction afterwards. This will be an interesting twist, much like in game number 2 of the Tampa-Washington series. I'm anxious and curious and intrigued to see what takes place in game number 2 of the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. I don't expect Winnipeg to come out and score 2 goals in, 7 minutes and 3 goals in 10 or 10 and a half minutes. I don't expect that to happen again. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. More on this game, more on this series, and more on the Vegas Golden Knights from Jesse Granger of the Las Vegas Sun coming up later on this hour. Much more as well on the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals coming up. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk will also join us coming up in our next segment. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with much more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues here every Saturday and Sunday live at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. We're streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Don't forget you can subscribe to our podcasts as well through iTunes, through iHeartRadio. They're also available on our website and through the app. It includes our little Saturday podcast. It's a little midweek hockey talk, drops Wednesday afternoon. So to get your midweek hockey fix, check out the little Saturday podcast at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Getting set for game number 2 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals. Also looking back on game number 1 between the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights, 4-2 the final on Saturday. Our friend Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. He's also the Northeast distributor, I understand, for Raisin Free Trail Mix. You can follow him on Twitter at Sean_Leahy, and he joins us now. Sean, good to have you as always. Are you excited about both of these series? I think they're great in both the Eastern Conference and in the West.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you got Winnipeg, one of the best teams in the regular season, and obviously the story with Vegas, as we all know. And then out in the East, you have just a solid Tampa team that's been a contender for the last several years. And obviously you got the story with the OV and the Caps finally getting over to the hump of not only the second round, but the Penguins going for their shot for the Cup. So it's hard to ask for a better Final Four than what we have right now.
I'm a little excited too at the potential for a first-time Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah, that's always exciting too, because then you also look at the roster, and at this point we start to look at the who is the old guy without a cup on each team.
Yep.
Who's going to get the cup first from the captain, and you have like Ovi on the Capitals. I think Braden Colburn might be that guy on the Lightning. Vegas. I'm not sure who might be on Vegas. Winnipeg, you got a bunch of guys as well, so that's always fun too. But yeah, first time, not just how the players react to winning for the first time, but also the city and the fans, and especially if it's one in their building, just the reaction and the emotions that'll let out when that final whistle goes. So it's always an exciting time of year.
Let's talk a little first about the Caps and the Tampa Bay Lightning. There was a lot of emotion let out of the Washington Capitals when they did manage to defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games with the overtime goal from Evgeny Kuznetsov. And I was really wondering, okay, so are they going to kind of, after a day or so, look up across the horizon and say to themselves, well, now what? What do we do? We haven't been here in 20 years. Nobody knows what's supposed to happen next on this team. But there's a different feel to this Washington Capitals team this season as they're now in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah, you can almost allow the Capitals if they would have came out flat in game one, right? Just because of getting over that hump and all the emotions you saw on the ice when they finally eliminated Pittsburgh. But maybe those couple of days off got them the ability to refocus. You know, they spent the next day celebrating. Then the next day after that was back to business, and obviously the task at hand of winning 8 more games and winning the cup. And just really the way they came out, building up to that first goal by Michael Kempny, you could just tell they were ready to play that game. It was a business trip. You hear that a lot with teams going into road games. They went into Tampa, didn't have to worry about tickets or the nerves of the fans or whatever, the emotions of the fans in the arena. They went in to a hostile environment, played their game, and really took it to a Lightning team that you'd almost expect to come out with a better performance than what they did. And certainly, you know, getting that 2-0 lead in the first period and obviously building on that in the second period and really putting the game out of reach early in the second was an impressive showing. But on the other side, you got to expect that John Cooper, you know, in that team has been in this situation before. And tonight you're going to see it's almost like game one against the Bruins, right? They came up pretty flat then. And they could be us back and win game 2. So you got to expect a much better performance from the Lightning tonight for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I expect them to play better, but I'm curious to where you are. I'm a little more concerned about Tampa going into game number 2 of this series than I was after the Bruins series. They had the long layoff and Boston didn't. It's much like Vegas and Winnipeg last night in Winnipeg where they came out victorious. But I'm a little more worried about the Tampa Bay Lightning this time because they had 5 days off. Washington had 4 days off, and they just looked disinterested for 2 periods.
Yeah, but I mean, this time of year, rest is a weapon, as Guy Boucher likes to say, and as Pierre Dorion noted, he's not really a big fan of hearing that. But this time of year, we play so many games, especially the Lightning, right? Vasilevsky said in March that he publicly said he was feeling tired. A couple guys are banged up like Stamkos. So anytime you get rest as you're moving on is certainly a good thing. And yeah, it may affect you for a game, but like we just said, look at game 2 against the Bruins. They bounced back fine. I think one of the keys is they're going to have the Lightning on. You know, they're going to have to be much smarter as far as discipline goes. They cannot be giving their penalty kill was already horrendous heading in the regular season and into the playoffs. They can't be giving a team like the Capitals power play opportunities after power play opportunities because you know they're going to capitalize. They're going to find Ovi in that circle and he's going to rip them home. And they did that twice in game 1. So. There's a lot to clean up from game 1. The power play, keeping the Capitals off the power play is certainly going to be one of them, and obviously getting those guys going, the Braden Points, the Kucherovs, the Stamkos, the guys who kind of carried you through that the Bruins series need to get going starting tonight. Otherwise, you know, 2 certainly going to be a deep hole heading back to Washington.
Yeah, no question. Sean Leahy is our guest from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. Follow him on Twitter at Sean_Leahy. There was some good fortune in the game for the Washington Capitals as well. I mean, the way the puck just kind of found its way to Jay Beagle, and also the fourth goal from Lars Eller is just he happened to be in the right spot, and the puck arrived at his feet, and he pumped it into the net. So there was a little bit of good fortune, and you're right. If Washington takes Tampa lightly, they'll get lit up seriously bad in game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But a good thing for the Capitals, which has been happening through 2 rounds, is it hasn't been the Alex Ovechkin and Nick Backstrom and Kuznetsov show. You know, they've been scoring. Those guys have scored obviously big goals, and maybe we'll see if Backstrom gets back in the lineup tonight. But they're getting goals from guys like Alex Chason, Michael Kempny, Lars Eller, like you just mentioned, Jay Beagle. You know, those second and third tier guys are stepping up and scoring big goals in different situations, and that's what you want, especially if this time of year. If you're going to make a deep run, you need those guys to step up. And you look at all the rookies who scored, the Stevensons and Jacob Verana's last round against the Penguins. Those guys have been continuing to step up. So there's a lot more for John Cooper and his staff to worry about, and certainly they knew that with all the pre-scouting heading into the series. So they're going to have their hands full. They got to worry about stopping the various waves of offense that the Capitals can throw at them, but they also have to find ways to get their own guys going and really get out and grab that first goal tonight and build off of it.
I want to ask you a little bit about the Western Conference Final as well. Winnipeg Jets blasted the Vegas Golden Knights in the early going. They managed to win the game 4-2. But just the scenes and the atmosphere, first of all, in the building with nearly twice as many fans outside as there are inside the building at Bell MTS Place, and this Winnipeg Jets, I think, are getting introduced to a lot of people as a damn fine hockey team right now.
Yeah, and it's a lot of guys can kind of make a name for themselves this time of year, introduce themselves into a lot of households this time of year. Mark Scheifele is certainly one of those guys. He's been one of my favorite players for the last several years to watch, just the way he's been able to grow his game. And now the way he's been playing 7 goals in a row in the National Series. He leads all players with 12 overall. Had that tip last night with that 4th goal for the Jets. He's a guy who is elevating his game at the right time. Obviously, Blake Wheeler, Paul Stastny, their big guys are stepping up. Dustin Byfuglien did pretty much everything last night. Scored a goal, assisted a goal, made that great save that helped set up the Patrick Laine goal. Alex Tuch tried to check him. He was knocking him back. So all of their guys are stepping up here. And certainly there's a lot of exciting players on that Jets team that I can certainly capture the eye of hockey fans who maybe don't get a chance to see the Jets on a regular basis.
So Blake Wheeler would be one of those guys, too, the old guy who hasn't won a cup that everybody rallies around and they make up special hats and stuff. That would be the perfect storyline, don't you think?
He's only 31. I mean, I don't know I guess he's kind of a gray beard on that roster. I mean, I'm 37 myself, so if you're calling Blake Wheeler an old guy at 31, I feel even older there. But
relatively speaking, okay, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, he's been around the league for I guess about a decade. One of those the guys who was there when the Atlanta Thrashers were still around, and before they moved back to Winnipeg. But he's just been a guy who's just been solidly consistent. He's not. This is his best year of his career, but he's just been a very good player. 20, 25 goals every year, 60, 70 points a year, just humming along, becoming a lead there in Winnipeg. And he had that great pass. I forget who it was to in a National Series that kind of split a steam. Last night, that great pass to Patrick Laine, that patience, and somehow, some way, the Jets shorthanded team just completely missed Patrick Laine there and left him wide open for that great one-timer. So, Wheeler's another guy who I think Wheeler, Scheifele, a lot of guys who might be on the underrated team, maybe be getting off of that roster with their performances this postseason.
It's kind of interesting, too, that between both series, we have a goaltender who's a veteran and has had some success. Certainly, Marc-Andre Fleury's had more success than Braden Holtby winning Stanley Cups, but both have played well and both have had success. And we've also got 2 really young goaltenders who are just starting their careers and really showing the potential that they have in Andrei Vasilevsky, who's been the workhorse for Tampa, and Connor Hellebuyck, who's been sensational for Winnipeg. Yeah,
and Hellebuyck is... He was great in that National Series, and I think a lot of us expected Hellebuyck to take this step last year, but then he struggled a bit. And look what he did this year. He's a worthy Vezina finalist, and obviously Fleury. What more can you say? He was great for the Penguins. He's been great through 2 rounds. He was great through 2 rounds last night. Even despite that tough first period, he made some great saves. It could have been an even bigger deficit, and Holtby. What he's done in regaining his number 1 job after Philip Grubauer started those first 2 games against the Jackets, he's been huge for them. One of the big reasons why they are where they are. Then obviously Vasilevsky, who we were introduced to back in 2015, where he subbed in for Ben Bishop when Bishop got hurt in the Stanley Cup final, and that was kind of the starting point for him taking over that number 1 job, and he fantastic. He had the great first half. Second half was a little rough, but obviously has bounced back in the playoffs. So it's good to see that mix of youth and veteran goaltending. Guys stepping up and really leading their teams to within four wins, or now 3 wins for some of them, to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, and hey, just before I let you go, too, and since the Caps have defeated the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's not going to be the three-peat. Jim Rutherford has said that there will be some changes to the roster, and I think some people have kind of gone off the deep end about that, wondering how big and dramatic the changes might be. Sure, there will be, but they got a lot of really good players, and I think there's a lot of really good players that they're going to keep. I think they'll just continue to try to move some more young talent into the lineup. You know, Daniel Sprong is the obvious that he'll be on the team next year.
Yeah, Rutherford even said that he'll be a full-time player, and he would have been, I think, more prominent on the roster this year, but other guys were kind of ahead of him on the depth chart. But obviously, you come up short. There's going to be some changes, and they're pretty locked in as contract-wise. They have a handful of RFAs, no real meaningful UFAs this summer to worry about. So the changes are going to happen, via trade, maybe free agency, depending on what kind of needs they have come July 1st. But you look at guys like Connor Sheary. You look at guys like who else would I don't know if they would flip Derek for starting him, but maybe Carl Hagelin, guys who don't have a lot of term, too much term left on their deals, or not making a ton of money, still decently young enough that maybe they could be flipped for other assets that can be used by Rutherford to either bring another player in via trade or free up some cap space to pursue someone in free agency. So he's certainly kind of had a magic touch there in Pittsburgh. Since he's gotten there, as far as making some pretty shrewd moves that have paid off and helped build 2 championship teams. So there's no reason to doubt him going into this summer that he'll be able to, find the right moves that make this Penguins team just as strong heading into next year, or just going by his past history, stronger than what they've been over these these last couple months.
He's our friend Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. You should be following him on Twitter as well, at Sean_Leahy. Have a great Sunday, Sean. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Hope we cross paths and catch up soon.
You got it, Todd. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. I think there's when you just read the line that, yeah, there will be changes next year, it can be taken in an overly dramatic in an overly dramatic way. And sure, every team should be making changes the following year. Even if you win the Stanley Cup, you want to try to grow and improve your team the following year. Simply saying, oh, we're just going to bring everyone back. Well, you've got 30 other teams that are chasing you and trying to get better. If you don't try to improve and make changes yourself, you're just making their job easier. You should be looking to make changes to improve every season. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. We'll talk to Jesse Granger coming up in our next segment. More on the Vegas Golden Knights after suffering a Game 1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets in the Western Conference Final. Still more to come on the Tampa-Washington series. Can tell you that Nick Backstrom has remained out on the ice with the scratches for the Caps. Probably a good indication that he's not going to be playing in game number 2 tonight. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Much more to come. We'll take you right up to the top of the hour. Lots to come after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design, industrial design, mechanical engineering and design, Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues, going right up to the top of the hour, getting set for game number 2 of the Eastern Conference Final between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals. Puck drop will be shortly after 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We will also have a special pregame edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis on the Tampa Bay Lightning Powerplay Network, plus all of our other regular distribution channels. That's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well. We'll get you set for game number 2. Of course, it's the Caps with a 1-0 series lead in that one. I don't know. I'm curious about what to expect. Sure, after game number 1 of this series, where Tampa Bay was pretty much AWOL in the first 2 periods, I do expect a better game from the Tampa Bay Lightning. What kind of a better game are we going to get? Are we going to see a hard-charging Tampa team as we did in Winnipeg with the Jets on Saturday night, and the Vegas Golden Knights were a little bit flummoxed by all of it, seemed a little bit overwhelmed? Maybe. I don't know that we're going to see the same kind of dizzied reaction from Washington as we saw from the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday night. I think they'll be better able to handle a team that comes out really hard charging right from the start. We'll see. I'm really intrigued as to what happens in game number 2. It was Winnipeg going up with a 1-0 series lead. 4-2 is the final. They did a bunch of scoring early, but the Vegas Golden Knights started to play a much better game as this one went along. Jesse Granger covers the Vegas Golden Knights for the Las Vegas Sun. Follow him on Twitter at Jesse Granger _, and he joins us now. I really do think, Jesse, that this Vegas team kind of got themselves sorted out and together as the game moved along, and in the third period, it looked at a great deal of time like Vegas was carrying the play.
Yeah, that was what I wrote out of the game last night, was kind of calm down, Vegas fans. It's going to be all right. This team played better. They actually, if you look at the Corsi numbers, the Golden Knights dominated the second 2 periods. Now, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because Winnipeg was playing with a huge lead and they were just kind of in cruise control at that point. It's kind of tough to tell how much of it was Vegas playing better and how much of it was Winnipeg just, okay, we've got the lead, we can kind of chill out now.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right that there's no time to panic, even though there are a lot of people focusing on the so-called adversity that Vegas is facing for the first time, that, oh, well, they lost the first game of the series. That hasn't happened before. Well, they've only played 2 series. It's still all really new for this team, and I don't think that losing game number 1, especially on the road, is going to be overly disruptive to what Gerard Gallant and the Vegas Golden Knights plan to do in game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, you go into every series as the road team just wanting to steal one of the first 2 on the road. I will say that if they lose tomorrow night, as far as series-wise goes, they're still technically fine. They can go back to Vegas and win. But I think that will pose a problem for them, and the adversity will get maybe too much. I talked to Jonathan Marchessault in the locker room after the game. He told me game 2 is an absolute must-win, and that's the vibe I got from most of the players. If they don't get one of these 2 in Winnipeg, I could see them being in trouble going back to Vegas down 0-2.
Oh, that absolutely makes sense. If you go up 2-0 in a series, the odds are disproportionately in your favor that you wind up winning the series in however many games. But are you concerned that the comment from Marchessault may be a little self-inflicted pressure and to the point of too much pressure that they're putting on themselves?
I don't think so. He said it in a. I mean, Marchessault is one of those guys he's cocky, but he's not really. He's not really like. He doesn't do it too many times, but you can tell he's got a lot of confidence in himself, and he almost said it like. The exact quote was, "It's a must-win, and we're going to show everybody what kind of team we are." So I think they're very confident in themselves. I think they feel that Winnipeg used that crowd to kind of surprise them, bum rush them. I mean, they do it to teams all the time in Vegas, and for once it happened to them on the road. The atmosphere last night was insane. I've never seen anything like it. And Winnipeg jumped all over them, and I think the Golden Knights truly believe that other than that first 7 minutes, they were as good, if not better, than Winnipeg.
Hey, when a guy from Vegas says the atmosphere in Winnipeg was nothing like I've ever seen before, I think that's about as good a compliment as you can pass along. So good for you, Jesse. The other thing with Vegas is, and it's a simple fix. I shouldn't say that, but it's a fairly straightforward fix. Is that you can't put Winnipeg on the power play. That's something that's just going to wind up hurting you, as it did in game number 1.
Yeah, and it's so weird because the Golden Knights were one of the least penalized teams in the entire NHL all season long. And in the playoffs, they have not been able to stay out of the box. The whole reason the San Jose series went as long as it did is because the Golden Knights just could not stop taking penalties. And San Jose's power play is really good, and they took advantage. And if that continues in this series, they have no chance at beating Winnipeg, because after watching this Winnipeg power play in that first game, I mean, it is insane how good they are. Obviously, they've got the play that they like to set up to get Leahy the shot, but there were a couple times that the Golden Knights played that play perfectly, and they still had like 3 other options to go to when Leahy's shot wasn't open. I mean, other than maybe Pittsburgh, it's the best power play I've ever seen. It's really, really good, and if the Golden Knights can't stay out of the penalty box, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's the tricky part with Winnipeg, is they have so many options that they can beat you with. Has anyone theorized as to why the penalties have gone up for Vegas in the postseason?
I mean, against the Kings and Sharks, it was a lot of those two teams are not that skilled, and they are just trying to get under your skin, especially the Kings. They're trying to get you to start things after the whistle because that's just their game, and they're trying to get you out of your game. That's not the case with the Jets. I mean, they played a very clean game last night. Bufflin had a couple huge hits, but they were clean, fair hits. It's not like he was doing anything after the whistle. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not sure either, but I'm just wondering why the penalties would have gone up. Jesse Granger is our guest, covers the Vegas Golden Knights for the Las Vegas Sun. At Jesse Granger _ is how you follow him on Twitter. Game number 2 of this series will take place on Monday night in Winnipeg. The whiteout will be in full effect once again. What did Gerard Gallant say about the overturned video review that wound up putting the Vegas Golden Knights down 3-0? I was watching his presser in the media room, and no one asked him about it. I was really surprised. Apparently, he did make some comments later on about it that he just, I guess, disagreed with the call. Of course.
Yeah, he hasn't been too shy to say he disagrees with the referees. He's been doing that all playoff. Like you said, so the way Winnipeg's arena is set up, I stayed in and I waited a little longer in the locker room to get Pierre-Edouard Bellemare after the game, and I missed most of the Gerard Gallant press conference. I walked in kind of as he was getting up from the mic, and he's like, "Oh, nobody's going to ask me about the goal," and walked away. I'm actually going to talk to him. I'm getting ready to head over to practice to the Jets practice facility right now, and I'm going to talk to him this morning about it.
But that was probably the key moment in the game, that it went against the Vegas Golden Knights and put them down 3-0. But I also thought that was a point that, because the review took so long and it just dragged on, that it allowed Vegas to kind of catch their breath and refocus themselves on the task at hand moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to blame the loss on the referees. It's unfortunate, and this team is like. So far through 3 series, it seems like every single call that has been a 50-50 toss-up has gone against the Golden Knights. It's and the players, you can tell they're kind of just frustrated. I mean, if you remember back game 2 in Las Vegas against the Sharks in double overtime, Marchessault's goalie interference, the call that took back their game-winning goal was almost identical to what happened to Fleury last night, and it was the same sort of play, the same referee, although the referee doesn't make the call, Toronto does. But it's just, I mean, you looked at it and it's like, okay, that's the exact same play as the goalie interference that got Marchessault's goal called back, and then this time it goes against the Golden Knights the other way.
Yeah, it's that is a little curious. I'm also wondering, and I'm sure you don't have a specific answer to this yet because you haven't had a chance to talk to Gerard Gallant. And he may not even have an answer yet until tomorrow. But I thought it was interesting when the series shifted from San Jose back to Vegas that he made a number of lineup changes going into that game, trying to turn the series back in their direction. And I thought that. I'm wondering if there's a lineup change or two that comes into play with this series for game number 2.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to tell us. Usually, he's very telling with his rushes in practice, the line rushes that he does. It's pretty easy to decipher who's going to play in morning skate. He just won't tell you. But if William Carrier is healthy, I think he should be in the lineup for Reeves. I don't think Reeves played poorly last night, but he just can't. He doesn't have the speed to forecheck the way Belmar and Noshik and Lindbergh do on that fourth line, and Carpenter. And I think Carrier just fits what they do a little bit better. As far as other changes, I don't see Tatar getting put back in. He hasn't played well. He doesn't forecheck, and Merrill hasn't. I mean, Spiza has played really well in place of Merrill, which is the other change he made on that game you're referring to. So the only change I see coming is if Carrier is healthy, he's back in.
Yeah, he does bring you more than Ryan Reeves does, I would agree. That's Jesse Granger from the Las Vegas Sun, at Jesse Granger _ to follow him on Twitter. Good stuff today, Jesse. We'll let you get to the practice, but we appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse Granger from the Las Vegas Sun. I don't know how big a change there will be in the lineup. I just think that we'll get a better game. We'll get a different game from the Vegas Golden Knights than we did in game number 1. It's understandable to be overwhelmed by the emotion. In fact, you could draw a parallel between Vegas getting overwhelmed by all that is going on in the building and surrounding area, the same way the Winnipeg Jets did in game number 6 of their series against the Nashville Predators. As opposed to embracing it and feeding on the emotion, channeling it in the right direction, it became overwhelming and a distraction. And it was for Vegas in game number 1 of this Western Conference Final Series. I think we're going to see a different game. I think we'll see a different game between Tampa and Washington as well in game number 2 of that series, which goes later on this evening. We'll get into more of that coming up, plus whatever else we can squeeze in until the top of the hour. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Don't forget a special pregame edition in advance of Game 2 with Tampa and Washington as well, coming up later on this afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the regular Sunday program, back with our final segment after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Final segment of the Sunday program, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, here every Saturday and Sunday at our regular time, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Don't forget as well, you can subscribe to our podcast through iTunes, through iHeartRadio. It's available on our website and through the Hockey Unfiltered app, and it includes our little Saturday podcast. It's some midweek hockey talk, weekend in the middle of the week, thus the name, the Little Saturday Podcast. They drop on Wednesday afternoon, just the latest and what's going on in the league, just their way of keeping the hockey talk and conversation going. We're getting set for game number 2 between the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Latest on the lineups look to be that Nick Backstrom is officially listed as a game time decision. He did not take line rushes, and he hung around for some extra work after the regulars had left the pregame skate. Certainly not a positive indication that he would be back in the lineup. John Cooper is saying all the right things for the Tampa Bay Lightning, suggesting that his team bounces back after a bad game and would expect a better effort. I think the keys to the game for Tampa remain pretty much the same. Can't take penalties against Washington. Scored twice on the power play in game number 1. Don't put Ovi on the power play. And if you are a man down and you're 7 seconds left in a period, you can't lose a face-off that's drifted perfectly into the top corner of the net by Alex Ovechkin. You can't lose a face-off that way. And I know there are going to be times when you will go a man down. You will take penalties. It's going to be impossible to go through an entire game when you don't take penalties. You can't take penalties in the offensive zone. There's the other key. But the penalty kill has not been good for the Tampa Bay Lightning, so the fewer penalties you can take, the better your chances of winning. I thought in some ways in game number 1, the Lightning tried to inject some emotion into their game by throwing a few hits. That's not really their game. I mean, finishing a check when it's there, yes, using your body and being physical, but not to the point of running around and hitting people. I think if that's happening, I think that's a bad sign for Tampa. I think they're off their game. If you're being physical and engaging in puck battles and using your body to help, I think that's on your game. I think if you're maneuvering Capitals players where you want them to go and where you want them to be on the ice, if you're battling hard to find a better spot to get free and to get an opening, to get a chance on goal, I think that's Tampa using physical play to their advantage versus trying to hit people. The mental game, I think, is going to be an important part of game number 2. Go down 2-0, your chances of coming back, not good. And especially if you lose both the games at home. Now, if this were to happen, I don't suspect it will. If this were to happen, everyone would immediately be pointing to the Washington Capitals, who lost the first 2 games of their opening round series against the Columbus Blue Jackets and then won the next 4 straight. But teams that take a 2-0 lead in the conference finals or semifinals since the mid-70s are 39-2. That's over 95%. That's the only stat you need to know. That is the only stat you need to know. Conference finals, go down 2-0, your chances are very slim of coming back. For Washington, it's a natural reaction that, hey, we won the game on the road. We got the split. At the absolute worst, we got the split. This is what we came here for. Wanted to win at least one game. Knew we were going to be missing Nick Backstrom for a little while. Didn't play in game number 6 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Didn't start in the opening game of the series. And you know what? Even if he were thinking, yeah, I could probably go now, why would you? Do you have the determination? Do you have the instinct and will to go for 2? That's what I'm wondering about, and that's what I'm looking for from the Washington Capitals. Are they content, or are they committed to the same type of game, to the same type of structure, to the same kind of discipline that got them a victory in game number 1 of this series? Are they committed to do it again in game number 2 to try to go up 2-0? If they are, then the job for Tampa to come back, get a victory, and even the series gets that much more difficult. If Washington is determined and focused to duplicate what they did in game number 1 of this series, which is very similar to what they did in game number 6, structure, defense, capitalize on the offensive opportunities when they are presented to them, like scoring 2 power play goals, then that makes the job for the Tampa Bay Lightning that much more difficult. And going against Braden Holtby, who is playing some of the best hockey of his career, since he came in and took over from Philip Grubauer, he's now 9-3. He has a 2.04 goals against average and is sporting a .925 save percentage. Those are excellent numbers. Now, Andrei Vasilevsky is 8-3, has a 2.43 goals against average, and has a .920 save percentage. So you've got good goaltending at both ends. Your top line needs to keep producing for the Tampa Bay Lightning, the way it did late in the Boston Bruins series. Steve Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, JT Miller, they need to produce. Stamkos did have a power play goal in the 3rd period of game 1. That's positive. That needs to keep going. That's going to be an element of success for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Andre Palat had the other goal. The second line, which many were touting as the real number 1 line earlier on in the postseason for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they need to keep producing as well. Getting production from their top lines throughout the postseason has helped get them to this point. It is going to be essential for their success if they're going to proceed any further. Yes, I mentioned this a bit earlier. There was a little bit of good fortune by the Washington Capitals in game number 1 as well. Lars Eller was in the right place at the right time. Jay Beagle was in the right place at the right time. So we'll see how it plays out in game number 2. Yes, I expect a better effort. I want to see what kind of game we get from the Washington Capitals. That could determine what kind of game we get from the Tampa Bay Lightning going forward. Our thanks to Jesse Granger from the Las Vegas Sun, to Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk, to Tracey Myers from NHL.com, and Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press, all for joining us on the program. Of course, we'll be back at our regular times next Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And don't forget to join us for a special pregame edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Give you an hour of info and stuff leading up to game number 2 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals. Have a great Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day once again, and enjoy a great day of hockey.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.